talk about it. Luca Nation, episode 802 of Lucas Tigers and Bronze. Your nonstop hobby content.
It's nuts over here. I got nuts. I'm eating nuts. Say what you will.
You are nuts. The missus is home today, so Cage has to hide in a closet to do it.
No, I'm in a much bigger room than I usually am. I just don't have a brick wall behind me. I have my Jackie Moon and my Fresh Prince jerseys up. You know, it's my alternate background. You know, let's call this an SSP. It's an SSP episode. So it's numbered. It'll be numbered like 802. It'll be numbered this episode, but it's also a short print episode. Not many episodes do we have these jerseys as a backdrop. Oh yeah,
I have a theory.
Oh, I'm ready for this. Excited.
So when Brady retired,
okay,
he said to Giselle, Giselle,
oh God,
I hear you. I'm gonna retire, but give me a few days to think about it. Retired, he said he's gonna do it, and she starts, talking to her friends. Hey, Marcy, hey, Michelle, hey, hey, Moan, yay, hey, and one of them, they start talking, and they leak it, right? Someone leaks it. And it gets the ESPN, they make the announcement, and Brady's caught blindsided. So it's all right, next day he finds out, he writes a letter, he's retired. All right. But then he's sitting there thinking, this isn't how Tom Brady goes out. He's not going to go out on his own terms. Someone's going to leak his announcement. Giselle, I'm unretired. It's like, I'm unretiring so I could retire on my own terms. And I think that causes a little bit of friction in the marriage, Cage, because the more this is sitting, the more I'm hearing rumors of them living apart. I think she was in Costa Rica. Now she's living in Miami. Do you care about this at all? Is this even a big deal? Or is this just tabloids and gossip? Irrelevant to you?
This is your theory. This is your let's lead the episode off with a theory. All right, so Tom Brady. So now for clickbait, and if you're here now because you clicked on clickbait 2.5 minutes in, you now know why. The title of this episode is what? Tom Brady divorce? Question mark? I mean, we're the National Enquirer now.
Do you want me my lead in? Because dude, it's permeating. It's not going away. I told you at the Highline show, a few people are like, "Hey, I'm not sure what's gonna happen." Like blah blah blah. There's marital issues. She's staying here in Miami, so because I'm in South Florida. I've heard it more and more and more and more. So that's why I want to bring it up.
Okay. So marital issues. Do any other athletes have marital issues?
All right, I have another topic.
I'm being dead serious. I mean, let's go forward because this is now a couple times you've brought this up. I have to know. I'm going to ask. You're down in South Florida. Oh, you're down in Florida, right? I mean, I don't know, south, north, east, west. The wicked witch of whichever location it is. But you're down in Florida now. I guess my question for you is, you keep bringing this up, and anybody who's watching on YouTube,
keep is relative. Okay,
they can see this. They can see this look you got going on, right? They can see the new fresh haircut. I mean, somebody shaped you up all nice. They can see you're looking good. I don't know. This is like an interesting little shirt you got going on. It looks wet, but it's dry. Like you got.
Shirt.
I mean, so you got the blue eyes. Are you currently cohabitating with Giselle? Like, do you have insider information? Are you breaking up the Brady family? Is that what's going on?
No, dude. I mean, it's just like they're the family. They're the football family. Star football player, model, amazing kids. Tom Brady just won a Super Bowl. He goes out on his own terms. Like, I don't know. It's interesting.
But can it be just a situation where these are, obviously, if it's interesting enough for you, it's a power couple. She can earn a lot of money modeling, but they have several kids. I think their oldest, is not hers, but obviously she's a stepmom. And then they have several kids, a Jack, and I don't know the names, but I think one of them's name is Jack. And she's sort of taking care of the kids, as much as people take care of their own kids nowadays. Right. And maybe she wants to get back into modeling. Not runway, but maybe she wants to go back and, earn money and, get back into the lifestyle she was, accustomed to, the whole deal. Maybe she wants to start doing that. Maybe she misses it. And maybe, maybe he thought he was done. Maybe, listen, one of the things
he wanted to go out on his own terms.
But one of the things I can never, speak to is this, right?
You don't think this has any impact on Tom Brady cards?
No. Do you remember when? No. Do you remember when we talked about this and I said he's not retiring? It wasn't because I was talking to Giselle. It wasn't because I was, in their bedroom or I had any inside information. I wasn't at the Highline show where clearly those people are really tapped into the Brady family.
Well, Giselle is staying here in Miami. That's why.
God. Okay. So here's
why it's a little bit closer to home here.
Right. I know you are in Florida, so you have inside information. But I guess what I'm saying to you is it doesn't surprise me that he retired and unretired, not because of any of the tabloid nonsense, but because you just go through a whole season. And you're Tom Brady, you just expect to win the Super Bowl every year. And, his first year in Tampa, he went there and he won the Super Bowl. I mean, it was an impressive thing. And he played last year, and they did not get to the Super Bowl. Had a great year. He had a great individual year. It is a grind, right? I mean, I've never played in an NFL season, but I'm sure it's not easy. I'm sure it's less easy for someone who's as old as me, basically, because he's not much younger than me.
It feels like the least of the grind of any of the sports, by the way, in terms of...
Yeah, but it's football. It's not a grind. It's like you're getting your ass beat. You know what I mean? Like ask Justin Herbert what kind of a grind it feels like this morning. You know what I mean?
September, October, November, December.
The length of time, sure, but basketball players twist their ankles. These guys are getting trucked, especially QBs, absolutely. So that's the difference that I'm talking about. And not to mention, it's OTAs, it's physical, it takes its toll. I can understand why any professional athlete that's accomplished what he's accomplished and has gotten to what most would consider way past the normal retirement age would at the very, all right, I'm out. Like it's almost like an overreaction. It's like, shit, I'm a little disappointed. I didn't win a Super Bowl. I think I'm done, finished. And then, okay, once you settle, once you start to think about it, once you talk it over in the whole 9 yards, all right, I'm coming back because look, I still obviously can play at a high level. The team's going to go out and do some things and pick up some receivers like Julio Jones. And I got enough in the tank to maybe, run this back one more time. I don't know that there's much more than that. I'm sure, listen, I am married. Right? You don't wake up every day with the windows opening up, the birds fucking chirping, flying in and it's not, I mean, every relationship, ours included, mine and you, it goes through rocky times, man. I'm sure
has
they are as well.
Has this 2 years been a grind?
Oh,
have you been sacked? Are you a sack lunch? No, sack lunch.
I'm glad my sack has made it through this 2 years and change.
Crab cakes and football, that's what Maryland does.
That's what Maryland does. But so the point, of course, is that these guys, I'm sure they have a lot of things pulling them in a lot of directions, and that's it.
Did Brady hire you as his PR agent?
No, but dude, listen, I mean,
these rumors have legs. They're not going away.
I think it's but who cares? It's rumors. Okay, so let's take it on its face that it's true. There's some marital issues, and she's not happy.
Mid-season divorce won't look too good.
They're not going to get divorced mid-season anyway. That's not how divorce works. I mean, yes, someone could file for divorce mid-season. I mean, yeah. But what is your concern for our listeners? That impacts Brady's cards?
I'm curious your take if it has.
Well, you tell me. Does it impact Brady's cards in your opinion?
Not at all. Next topic.
Okay, good. No, I mean it doesn't, right?
Yeah, eat some nuts. Next topic.
I am. Eat some nuts.
Cleaning cards. Where do we draw the line?
When does cleaning cards become altering cards?
Yes.
That is a great question. It is the question I submitted for the crossover for Chris and Josh. Yeah, they put a little story. What do you want? That's my question today. When is cleaning cards altering cards? And I was going to write in, why does Josh have to be so mean to ultra-modern football buyers in his stories? But there wasn't enough room in the question. Plus, he's not mean.
He was not mean. He was
awesome.
I don't think he even said anything. I think he just put two photos with like a sarcastic, funny line.
As mean as numbers can be, I guess, right? So, but listen, I will tell you, my thought on it is very simple. If you do something to a card that changes it in any way from the way that it left the factory, assuming it is a printed card, Yeah, I believe that's altering a card, and I
Have you?
probably have more of a purist, definition there.
Is that
Now,
right?
yeah,
You've seen they leave the factory like sometimes they're scratched on the surface,
yeah,
and
I
so
think
you're saying if you fix that scratch with Kurt's Card Care or any of
so.
the
Let's
other.
get into the science. What's that card care do? What does it do to get rid of the scratch?
Well,
Because
here's the issue. So it's all white labeled, so you don't know the ingredients, right?
yep,
But this is just like a little spray, like
right.
literally just like.
And
a
what does it
little
do though?
This polishes,
Polish is just like cleaning, like shining. Okay.
shining, and this gets like fingerprints and. So, like, if you guys have seen cards and graded a lot of cards, there's sometimes like these like dust specks stuck on the surface. That if
Okay.
you just wipe it down with a microcloth, you kind of have to be a little bit more
A
physical. To get it
dust
off.
speck probably got on there somehow during the packing process or the shipping process. That's not part of the card manufacturing process.
Definitely.
A scratch, and also the dust has nothing to do with the card itself. That's something that's on top of it. It's a piece of dirt. A scratch becomes a different conversation, right? Because a scratch, if it's actually in the card,
Yep.
and the card itself is scratched, then I don't know the science. I'm not a scientist, but I know that there are similar type of items where you have a scratch on your car.
Yep.
Right. And you rub this in and you do the whole deal, like, new finish or whatever it's called. Right. And
So I bought this because we
Uh-huh.
sell on Whatnot, and you know how like slabs, when you play with slabs too much, they get scratched on the surface and people kind of hate it.
Mhm.
So this, I polish people's slabs. I polish people's slabs.
That sounds very dirty. So
they
how does
get
that
nice-
work?
So they get
Like,
nice slabs, honestly.
this is your question. So I'm assuming you did some research. I would really like to do some research before talking about it, because half of me is wondering that if it's the same type of item as like the paint remover stuff. I've always assumed that the way that those paint things worked for your car was you rubbed it on there,
Yep.
and it broke the paint down minutely. You know what I mean? Like it on each side of where the scratch was, it kind of broke the paint down and allowed you to rub the paint into the scratch, so that you were basically filling in a defect on your car using the paint that's on it.
Correct.
Now,
and just to add to that, if you guys have done this with cards or cars, because sometimes I'm like, "What do you do?" They're like, "I'm into sports cards." Sports cards. They're like, "Sports cards are very cool." I'm like, "No, ma'am, sports cards." See you later.
Right.
But anyway, the more you do it, the more the scratch fills in. So sometimes, like doing it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you'll see the scratch goes away over time versus with one application.
So if you do it on a card, is it basically taking some of the finish from the card itself on either side of the scratch, and we call it micro abrasion? Is that sort of what's going on there? Is it breaking it down and using that color? And then, so basically you have, a color issue. And I don't know if under, many times magnification, you can see this and you can actually see where the color has been taken to fill in the stuff. I honestly do not know the answer to that. Maybe some of these new AI grading things will show that. I honestly, I don't know. But if that's what's happening, and I'd love to research, if that's what's happening, then what would concern me is that 5 years down the road, somebody takes a look at one of these cards that's been cleaned with more magnification, more of an eye than people are looking at it now, and you look at it and say, okay, well, what the heck is that? There's color missing here, and rubbed into here, and you can't see the scratch with the naked eye like you used to, but clearly the card itself has been scrubbed and altered. That, to me, if you're doing that to a card, even if to the naked eye it just looks like a scratch vanished, that is altering a card. Now, if it's simply a fingerprint that has my greasy peanut-eating greasy finger from my head on the card, and somebody takes a cloth or whatever it is and simply taking off the oil from my fingerprint that was not on that card when it was made, that's cleaning a card. That's a different story.
So let me ask you, fingerprint. You've wiped down a lot of cards. You sub cards. Ian's Authentication Network probably offers the service for premium, but it's sometimes really hard to take off of a fingerprint that's been on there for a while with just the cloth. Do you ever or do you add a little water?
Yeah, 100%. you can put some moisture on the cloth to clean something off the card that does not belong on the card. I think the definition is easy, right? The card itself should remain intact. You should not be doing anything to the card itself. You can be cleaning something off the card that does not belong on the card. Once you get to what you're doing is messing with the card itself, messing, not being very scientific there, but it's all encompassing. Once you're doing something to the card and not something on the card, like if there's a scratch on the card and it impacts the card, right? There's a scratch in the card,
Yeah.
right? You obviously, to fill that in, you obviously are doing something to the card. And it's not magic. This isn't basketball card guy. Poof. I just did magic and the card scratches just floated off the card. No. I believe that is the very definition of altering. Yes.
By the way, if you guys don't know, go back to Origin Story episode number. I don't know what episode number it was, but the first episode of Basketball Card Guy. Fun, like previous life, he used to be a magician.
And a good one.
A magician for like celebrities. One little distinction, guys, that needs to be made is cards are made with different materials. So there's the acetate cards, there's the prism cards with like a glossy finish, and then there's like the Kobe Topps card, which actually isn't finished. It's just cardboard.
Yep.
I have always felt that the cardboard cards are more permeable. So I don't even put any moisture on it because you know what happens, paper and moisture. Not. But the newer cards, the refractor cards, those are cards where you see this more. For example, a card that I would look at that this could happen with is LeBron Topps Chrome and LeBron Topps Chrome refractors. Because the difference with that card with a 7 surface to a 9 surface, that bumps the overall grade from a 7 to a 9 or 7. That's a big monetary jump. So it's very interesting. And then you have cards like the Charizard First Edition card comes to mind, where the card is cardboard, but the center is very susceptible to scratches, and that could be cleaned. So
I had one myself. What kept it from a 10 was a scratch.
Industry.
I mean, but I'm not taking some sort of thing and rubbing something on and messing with the card. First of all, I'm the guy that will do that, and the entire hologram will erase. You know what I mean? So I'm just too nervous about that. You know what I mean?
There's card mechanics. The way there's card mechanics, you know, the card mechanics are very precise. I have shaky hands, so I don't do this stuff. But I do like understand the value of like someone who's very precise and could be like, this card is ready for something. Another one that's very interesting is on some of the newer cards, there's sometimes like threads hanging off the edges. That's an interesting one because if a card, if there's a thread hanging off the edge, PSA is not going to take that out. SGC is not going to take it off. They're going to grade it as is. So they might give that if they gave an edge score 8.5 or 9. But that thread, you know what I'm talking? Do you take that off?
Not a thread, but I mean like the corner has a little bit of white on it where they cut it, a little bit left on it. Yeah, 100%.
It's
I try not to grade those.
It's a gray area. I would say the purists of Cage's generation would lean his way, whereas some of the newer people who have gotten into this might lean.
By the way, the purists, let's just take it. We just did an intro 101 course to cleaning cards, and I don't know shit about it, and I don't have a definition, and I didn't research it, but I want to do a graduate level course. Even using my definition, the next question, and maybe the one that the hobby will be faced with soon, is okay, if that is restoring of a card, or that is, you know, altering a card or whatever it might be, is there room for that in the hobby the way that there is in other asset classes, the way that there is in art, the way that there is in comic books, the way that there, you know, so
let's get the comics. So there's this tool that's in the kit. This, if you guys have subbed National Treasures, Flawless, Impeccable, thicker cards, sometimes the edges are like a little bit turned up. So this is a tool that if you put it on a penny sleeve, you could flatten the edges, right?
It turns them down.
So like, okay, SGC and PSA don't have subgrades, but they do take edges, centering, corners, and surface into consideration, and they come out with their own grade. But like BGS is great for this because you get to see the subgrades. That's the difference between a 9.5 edges and a 9 or an 8.5 edges, right? Altering.
I hope Peter Pac-Man and RPS are listening because we just came up with a new song. You just hold that tool up. You
Okay.
you turn down for what? Turn down for what? And you know what the what is?
It's a moron.
It is profit. Steel underpants. Turn down for what? Turn down for what? And it's
So
profit.
is that altering? What if you put your card underneath like a heavy stack of books?
We're getting into like an interesting thing here, right? So you're.
Well, I hope I bring an interesting, compelling show to people. I hope it's not boring.
Putting like a lotion on the card and rubbing it down and fluffing it up and getting it ready, that's an interesting thing, right? I think that's adding a foreign substance. It's sort of like, what they're not trying to do in pitching these days. Now, taking a card and kind of pressing the card, in between two dictionaries or something like that, I can tell you I'm not going to lie, it's something I've done in my life before grading. You know what I mean? Like I had cards as a kid and, the corners were dinged. Yeah. I did it with a Griffey Jr. once, you know what I mean? And, it's like, all right, we'll get it. As a matter of fact, it's funny as a kid, I won't say a child, but as a younger version of myself, I used to think that you could, help the corners by putting it in those big screw downs, which now has cost me a lot of the cards, because the PSA won't grade them because it thinned the corners out. So it did get a nice straight corner, but it wound up, mushing the card. So, it's funny the things that we do and I guess really what I would say is I don't know where the hobby is going to go with this, right? I don't know whether they'll accept restoration as its own category. I don't know whether or not there's going to be, additional scrutiny. I think I would be, fearful of the whole thing, but no more so than slabs having cards that are trimmed and not catching them or stuff like that. Like this is just part of the hobby. There may be a Wilt Chamberlain 8 OC that turns out that it's too short. You know what I mean? It's just one guy doesn't catch it, the other guy does. I mean, and a lot of it is that I guess the thing that would concern me about the whole scrubby thing is if the hobby starts to really turn and say, all right, that kind of shit is no bueno. I mean, as a way to identify cards that have been lotioned, in a year, 2 years, when some grading company comes with like intense magnification on the card and can identify that on these modern Prism-y type cards, and those cards start getting flagged, that's going to hurt some folks, I think.
Mahomes, Herbert. What'd you watch? What'd you see in that game?
Did I just lose a card care sponsorship for us or something? I mean, we this is what happens when we just kind of talk like this is what I think about this stuff. I mean, look,
I don't think you lost the card care.
I can understand why people would do this, right? I mean, you're grading cards, you got a stack of cards, you got this little, schmutz on the card, little scrape on the card, little surface issue. Okay, it's gone. Send it in, grade it, and the card is worth more. Why wouldn't you do it? I get it. I just think a couple steps beyond that, which is you did that, you're most likely going to sell that to somebody. That person's going to sell it to somebody else. If it turns out that each of these people are holding it for more and more money because the person's gotten better and better, I worry that at some point down the line, this card will get scrutinized again with some better tech, and someone's going to get stuck holding an altered card.
I think those are all fair. I think we present both sides of the argument here. I don't think there is a right answer. I really don't. I think if you pulled the hobby, this is one of those that would be probably split right down the middle.
No, I would bet you that anybody who came in the hobby in the last couple of years could care less about cleaning the cards. Okay. I think most people would say.
What percentage of people is that?
Who came in the hobby in the last couple of years? Probably 90.
No.
Look what the National looked like a couple of years ago, and look what it looks like now. And the people who are walking the National now, who are flipping with their Zion cases and the whole deal, I bet you half of them have lotion in their pocket to clean their cards and hit the men's room.
That's actually another interesting question. What percentage, like if you polled, like if you actually got a poll, like 100,000 people, what percentage of those people, let us know in the comments, what percentage of those people, let's say you got enough sample size, right? Because it can't just be our audience. Our audience is more collector based. It really is. We noticed that. Our audience is 35 to 55. We see that in the demos. We see our groups. But I'm curious, what percentage do you guys think, if you let us know in the comments, have come into the hobby, should we say 3 years or 5 years?
Oh, if it's in the last 5 years, it's going to be a big number. Yeah, say 5 years.
3 years. Let's say 3 years.
Okay. Because 3 years takes Luca, and that whole class is now out of that 3-year window. So it's that's a big deal.
Herbs versus Mahomes. Who won that battle?
Wait, before you do that, we'll get there. Just 30 seconds. Guys, if you haven't looked, take a look at Andrew's. Is it on the podcast page or Andrew's page? It might be on both the story.
I don't post on my page.
I have to thank you guys. I have to thank people listening to this. Is an amazing stat that we saw today. We watched this, but it's been moving up to where now we have. I mean, the numbers are staggering. We put out content. I watch my kids. They're on YouTube, and they flip over to a thing, and it's, oh, I don't like this. Move on to the next one. Oh, I don't like this. Move on to the next one. Or, all right, let me look for this. And they watch it for 30 seconds, and all right, it's gone. The whole deal. We put out a long form. Here I am. We haven't even gotten into the meat and potatoes of the football game here, and we're 25 minutes in, and you're listening. So to the folks who are listening, thank you. Because what we found out is so much of our audience listens to the entire thing, like a huge percentage, and that's impressive, right? You're not like 5 minutes and goodbye. It's you tune in and you want to hear what Andrew has to say, and you tolerate me. So that's a huge thing. It means, I guess that we're keeping it interesting. And for me, it makes my life easier because, every couple of weeks, Andrew calls me and he's got some sob story. He got something going on. Somebody stole his money from his wallet. Somebody,
our money, you fucktard.
Somebody didn't let him on a plane with his weed. The dog was barking. Jeff Wilson wasn't nice to him in the basketball game. It turned out it had nothing to do with Jeff Wilson. There's always something, but it always, after that something, it leads to, Cage, I just want to bake and watch a movie. I just want to, and then after that, the ask finally comes out, and the ask is, do we really have to do this every day, Cage? Do we have to do this episode every day? And one of my biggest concerns, and one of the best arguments that he's never made, is if we do it every day, people are going to stop listening. They're going to tune in, they'll listen for 2 minutes and see what we're talking about, and they won't like it, and blah, blah, blah. And I really probably wouldn't even have anything to say to that. But now I do. He's provided me the firepower, and so have you, that not only do you guys listen every day, but you listen to the whole damn thing. So thank you.
Well, dude, I sent you the chart yesterday of our YouTube. Mm-hmm. By the way, fun fact. Because we're learning this whole podcast game as we go. We share it with you guys.
I still can't spell podcast.
1 million downloads.
Yeah, million.
1 million downloads. 680,000 on Apple, Spotify, and 200,000 on YouTube.
It'll happen this year. Easy this year. 1 million.
What that graph showed was there's no drop off from day to day. It's like this slow growing 20% over each quarter. There's none of these peaks and valleys. And yeah,
you know what our chart looks like?
A healthy stock.
It looks like vintage. It looks like a vintage portfolio of Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron. That's what it looks like. It looks like a nice vintage. There's no 10x week over week, but it's also not cratering. It's like this. We haven't broken up over personal animosity just yet, like some people have. We haven't come and gone like others. We don't say we're going to show up every day and then show up every week. We're just here every day. And guess what? So are you listening to this. And that's what our numbers show. You're here every day, and you're here every day for the whole damn show.
There you guys. There's the proof. So you guys are saying we're not doctoring. If you're on YouTube, you could see it. The early spike when everyone, and then growth. I think that's something to be proud of.
And that's an incomplete chart at the end. That's this current period, so that'll spike up also. But that's cool.
He's just so worried about misinterpretation of data.
Our charts are straight up like this, but no, it's all good. It's
anyway, an incomplete cycle. So our chart has not fully cycled yet.
That's true. But so I just want to say thank you to these guys, because that chart that you just showed, that's them.
Yeah,
that's the people who are listening to us talk right now. All right, so Mahomes and Herbert, what do you got?
I didn't watch all the game. It was boring.
What?
Thursday night football games are boring.
It was a boring game.
Amazon Prime, I have it, but I don't love it. It's like change apps. So I was just watching Parks and Rec.
Wait a second. It was just like watching television. You just put it on and you hit play and it goes.
Well, the challenge is, if you guys watch NFL, they really like commercials. Really like commercials. So I was watching Entourage and Parks and Rec, like kind of both, by the way. Like I don't know why, but sometimes that's what it does. One episode of Entourage, one episode of Parks and Rec, one episode. But then that's on YouTube TV, and then I have to go to Amazon Prime, and it's like a whole 15 seconds.
You don't want to just dedicate a few hours to watch a football game. Halftime, you can get up and like make some food for yourself, and you can blaze a little bit. You do your thing.
They have commercials way too much, like really a lot. I really don't like that.
Listen, commercials are a good thing. We should add commercials to the middle of our show. They should be fake commercials. We should just like insert commercials like, hey, this segment of the Lucas Tigers and Browns podcast is brought to you by Clubhouse. Remember us? Yeah, we still exist. But if you're on Clubhouse, you are a huge nerd. Sorry, Zablo.
I was gonna go a different direction. It was all the people that have not supported us. I wanted to do mid-roll, calling them out.
Whoa, that could be fine too.
I'm never gonna do it. I'm a psycho, guys.
I'll do fake commercials.
It's the fuel sometimes.
Listen,
fueled by negativity, driven by optimism.
So what I'm hearing from you is diaper baby, even though it is probably the real Super Bowl of the first half of the season. It's Herbert against Mahomes. You can't just dedicate a few hours to watching that without changing the channel, putting something else on, because there are too many commercials. You are the Netflix generation. You are the gimme right now. I cannot wait. I can't be patient. Don't make me wait online. Don't make me watch commercials. I should be able to fast forward these.
That was very accurate.
God damn it. How? What am I supposed to do with that? Like, how am I supposed to make my kids not that? Like, how?
I don't think I'm the only one. Well,
no, you're not. You're not. You are definitely not.
I would say this. I would say go 3 drives and then do a long commercial. Go 3 drives and then do a long commercial. But like the worst, this is where they lose me. It's like commercial, a punt or a kickoff commercial. Dude, when you guys run that, oh my God. Collinsworth, Romo, whoever you are in the broadcast booth, you guys.
Ryan Fitzpatrick was in there. Ryan Fitzpatrick with his lovely beard was on the Amazon.
Was the commentator.
The intro, yeah.
He was a college guy, no?
He is.
Now he's banging mostly in the pros. Good for him.
Well, I mean, listen, Amazon put the broadcast together, obviously, and that's the interesting thing. It's Thursday Night Football.
Guys,
the commercials.
Comments. I don't think I'm the only one. Are you guys with me or against me on this?
Did you pay for the game?
No. I have Amazon Prime. I have everything. Too many spots.
Well, you did pay then. You paid Amazon. But you know how much Amazon paid for the ability to bring you that game? They have to, get that money back somehow. They're going to get it from your Prime. They're going to get it from your purchases and their, Prime signups, and they're going to get it from advertisers. I mean, it's, this is the way the world works,
Yeah. You know how, like, college basketball, like, at the 16-minute mark, there's a commercial. You can kind of pace yourself.
Yeah.
NFL is just random, and sometimes it's like 15 minutes of commercials, a minute of play. 15 minutes of commercials, a minute of play. And it's like, that's boring. Anyway, Herbert, you guys don't need to hear me whine, complain, bitch. Herbert, Mahomes, any thoughts? Irrelevant. Sell your quarterbacks, even if you are Herbert, Mahomes. Hold. What do you think?
I think it's a good game. I don't think either of them, basically put a stranglehold on, the other or the MVP conversation with that game. They both had great games. Both had good stats. Herbert's stat line actually looked a little better than Mahomes. It just shows you how I think it was John Madden, football's a game of inches, and he also said 1 knee equals 2 feet. Those were books that he wrote. It really is a game of inches because think of how that game switched on the interception that Mahomes threw. You didn't watch the game, so you don't know what I'm talking about, but Mahomes threw an interception that really, it could have been called an interception, but it wasn't controlled. It hit the ground. It was overturned. It was a huge, huge play of the game. And then Herbert threw an interception in the end zone, which, it was an interesting play. What's the receiver's name is Everett. He just made a great play before, but he got kind of slammed down to the ground, and he actually got up, and you could see him asking to be taken out of the game. Like he was winded. He was like waving to the sideline, and they left him in. And Herbert, through traffic, kind of threw a ball on his inside shoulder. Everett was kind of like falling to like the outside shoulder, and the defensive back, did inside, jumped it, and ran it back for 99 yards. A touchdown, a huge game swing. That's football. that's anything could happen there. If you replay a couple of plays in that game by an inch, that interception doesn't happen and it doesn't get run back for a touchdown, and Kansas City is picked off by San Diego. San Diego could win this game by double digits, So that's football. That's why it's always interesting, investing so much money in this, because you could be right. I mean, Justin Herbert could be the talent, but the ball bounces one way instead of the other, and the wins aren't there. Herbert was an immense talent last year, but when it came time to beat the Raiders, he didn't. Now, it's not on him, but ultimately it is a team sport. And there are a lot of guys out there on the field. The quarterback takes the blame because they take most of the glory. On a negative side for Herbert, he's now had in his career, I would say, 2 defining games to this point. The one that would have gotten him to playoffs last year, and now this head-to-head matchup early on in the season to take hold of the division and MVP discussions and the whole deal. And he is 0-2 in those big games. So, if you want to, spin a narrative that Herbert is, somebody that you should be worried about, that's your narrative. You want to do the other side and spin a narrative that this is the guy you want to bank on. I heard the x-rays initially last night were negative for breaks in his ribs, but I'm sure they're going to do some scans on him, and I'm sure they'll find either cartilage issues or maybe even like micro fractures in his ribs. It wasn't that, I think it was Jones, it wasn't that the helmet to ribs, the helmet was actually to the side of the ribs, and it kind of like landed on it a little to the side. It looks like, a little pressure. And the biggest concern I would have is he's probably going to need injections to his ribs to be able to play. And I don't know if it's the same team doctor who tried to do that to Tyrod Taylor. Remember that? And punctured his lung? Do you remember that? So I don't know if I'm Justin Herbert, I let him do it, but to the positive side, this guy, one play.
I don't even know why you went there.
Well, because one play, he can't even throw the ball. He's scrambling. He needs to pick up a yard to pick up the first down, and he can't even go. He just throws the ball away, and you can see he's wincing in pain. And the next, the pain probably didn't go away, but in the next throw, he's throwing a pea into the end zone. It's a dart, right? Just right on target for a touchdown. You guys who bet the Chargers got your backdoor cover on that BS, where he's basically, risking the longevity there, playing with broken ribs and the whole deal to get you your plus 3.5. But you could say, wow, this guy's a warrior. Look what he did. No give up, no quit in him. He gave his team a chance. Yeah, it was an onside kick and the whole deal. Even when he's injured, he's out there, putting up numbers and throwing darts. Guy you want to go to war with. Sure, I could see that. On the Mahomes side, the positive, the guy's done everything. He's already won the MVP. He's running the Super Bowl. Now he's 2-0. He's got great numbers. Got great numbers at this point in his career, better than anybody has ever had at this point in their career. But the game is very different since he's been playing than it was 20 years ago. So great, invest in Mahomes, and everything's great. On the negative side for Mahomes, I am not a Chiefs believer at all. Now it doesn't really
defense
mean
is pretty gives up a lot of yards.
So the Chargers basically said, we don't care what you're doing. We're gonna throw the ball. Mike Williams basically could have done anything yesterday. I give Mahomes a lot of credit for still finding a way to win that game. A lot of the calls went the way of the Chiefs. Maybe that doesn't happen. Remember they were in Kansas City. San Diego should have had a decent lead at halftime. I would be optimistic about Mahomes, but cautiously optimistic because he can only go as far as his team allows him to go. And when you have a porous defense like that against some of the better offensive teams with more than one weapon, the Chargers should have won that game last night, and they didn't have their best receiver. They had no Keenan Allen. You put Keenan Allen on one side, Mike Williams on the other. I don't think Kansas City is going to stop San Diego once. Whereas San Diego's defense also had some moderate success. Bosa, guy's a beast, against Kansas City. Next time they play, if Herbert
who they have that no one's talking about? Van Noy.
Kyle Van Noy, yeah.
People are all about Khalil Mack, but Van Noy is a proven winner. And he was one of
their defense. Mack, Van Noy, Bosa, Derwin
tough.
James. They have some really good, some talent on their defense. That division is nuts. I mean, the Raiders are probably the worst team.
Pun intended, as you eat nuts, you literally can't hold yourself back for 15 more minutes.
I didn't eat today. I didn't eat yet today, and we're recording this in late afternoon, so sorry. I'm hungry. What's up? Let's see what else. So on that one, it's one of those games where if you're holding either of them, I think you're okay because neither of them got embarrassed. Neither of them put up like a multi-interception game. Neither of them, takes a huge seat back. Like you could still hold them in the same high regard that you held them going into the game. And while Herbert has a loss, it wasn't a loss where you were like, oh shit. Herbert's, notches below Mahomes. Like if he has his full complement and he's healthy and they play in San Diego, I think San Diego should be favored.
I agree. I think it's an interesting topic. I don't know if this is an interesting topic. I guess I have
Giselle and Tom.
I have the realization of how violent football is when you watch it. Like all off season, you're like, oh, I know they could get injured, but like it's in the back of your head. When you see that, like them actually get hit time and time again, you're like, they really could get injured.
I have a question for you, and we could take it home on this because it piggybacks on the Mahomes Herbert. Let's just say you were a Mahomes holder and you owned cards of Mahomes and you were thinking, wow, he's 2-0, he looks great. Would you sell some cards now? Would you take some money off the table now, or do you hold them for maybe when he plays Tom Brady in the first weekend of October and hope you can really maximize the profit by him beating Brady? Well, by then, Brady might be divorced. So
we can only hope. I said if you guys saw them on YouTube, that was like tongue in cheek. Well, there's two things here. Upstate Sports Cards had a great post. He's like, when did we start seeing the same card be rerun on auctions over and over and over again? Are there no more collectors in the hobby? So that hit, I was like, damn, that pierced me right to my soul.
There aren't. There are very few.
But then I also take guidance, right? So like I asked the group, I asked you, what would you do? Like, would you hold it till they play Brady, which is a Sunday night football game? Would you run it this week? I also picked up a 1-of-1 XR rookie. Not XRC, XR rookie. So I was like, yeah, like if you have multiple Mahomes, you could unload your bag little by little. So you have less risk and potentially the same upside.
You should get more for it now than you would have gotten prior to him being 2-0 and, answering a lot of questions.
I agree. And I think I made the right bet. We'll see. Auctions could go a million different directions. But like, I agree. I've been talking all summer about how we're always talking about the next guy up when the next guy up is right in front of you. We've done that with Giannis, in my opinion. But like I said all summer, like I think Mahomes is actually underpriced relative to his peers who haven't accomplished even a fraction of what he has. So,
and we should do an episode about that. Whether the fact that he's underpriced compared to the peers who haven't done anything means that he's underpriced or that they're really just overpriced. And is the play to do nothing and stay away from them all? Is the play to buy Mahomes?
I'll always take a rookie Mahomes auto with a patch, 1-of-1 for 10K. Like I think that's a buy.
I like it. What if the rational line of thought is buy Mahomes because Mahomes shouldn't be 10K when the same card for Herbert and whoever else is twice that. It shouldn't be 10K for Mahomes and these other guys be 20K. So when Mahomes balls out, his will be 20K also. Why isn't what we're saying Mahomes is 10K and he's priced right? The Herbert, when Mahomes starts winning, the Herbert comes down to 10K or maybe even 8K. Why is it that we always, and this is a psychology thing, I think, we compare up. We never think, okay, the one that's priced this is overpriced and it's going to come down to the card that we think is underpriced. Because
I have a theory.
It doesn't mean you were wrong. It is underpriced by relative to that card as it's currently priced. But go ahead.
I think it happens mostly on cards with minimal supply, like out of 25, out of 10, out of even the Nash NTs out of 99. I don't see it as much because you could dictate your own price and you could storytell around it.
All right. I mean, that makes it makes sense.
In a tough economy, in a good market, silvers are selling of Trae Young 2,500 and 3,500, right? The market's moving. But in a tough market, you want to be in that flight to quality and that scarcity, right? So you could kind of dictate your own price. You don't get hit with 10 of the same cards selling on auction. You can't go storytell around that. It's the price is the price. But when there's 3 and one hasn't been auctioned off in a few months, but his peer is selling for 20, you could start to story tell and get out.
All right. Storytelling.
Peace, Luca Nation.
Thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So, as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.